Is it the spirit or is it my anxiety? Have you ever wondered that? If so, this video is for you. Hey friend, my name is Kristen Walker-Smith and I have battled obsessive compulsive disorder and general anxiety and depression for the past 15 lovely years.
Well, if you don't see any tears, because I'm crying on the inside.
And the first 7 years or so of my OCD battle were the absolute worst. And I spent pretty much all of those years feeling like I could not recognize the spirit. Like my brain was just always on fire with anxious or fearful thoughts. Can you relate to that? If so, I am very, very sorry. But I also have 3 tips for you to help you tell the difference between anxiety and the spirit. Now, first things first, I am not a therapist. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a health coach. What I'm sharing is just meant to be a tool that you can use in addition to the help that you're already getting from licensed medical and therapeutic experts. Cool?
Yep, good enough.
Okay, cool. So today I wanted to share with you 3 key differences I have found between when my anxiety is talking and when the spirit is talking, because they can sound pretty similar. And if you want to read more about this, I actually found a supporting Ensign article on this topic. It was written by Dr. Deborah Theobald McClendon, and I'm gonna include a link to that in the description if you want more info. But let's dive in to the 3 differences I have found. So, difference number 1, anxiety is focused on the future or the past, while the spirit is focused on the present. So when Joseph in Egypt, he heard Pharaoh's dream, and it was kind of upsetting, but he was able to interpret it through the power of the spirit. And he explained to Pharaoh that there were going to be 7 years of plenty and then 7 years of famine in Egypt. But then instead of dwelling on this catastrophe of a future 7-year famine, the spirit compelled Joseph to tell Pharaoh, quote, "Let Pharaoh look out a man discreet and wise and set him over the land of Egypt, and let them gather all the food of those good years that come. And that food shall be for store to the land against the 7 years of famine." Okay, so no panic, no fear, just a present focused plan for avoiding this future calamity, right? And that, my friends, is not what anxiety feels like.
She's right.
My OCD was just like a constant parade of future and past focused thoughts just running through my head about all the bad things that might happen. So if I didn't wash the lettuce thoroughly enough, then someone might end up getting sick and dying, right? Or as I sat in church, I would wonder if I had really been sure that the stove was off because I'd only checked it twice, not 3 times. And then of course, if it wasn't off and the house burned down, everyone would hate me, right? Like this is what anxiety feels like. My anxiety was always based on an imaginary future that I was trying desperately to avoid, or it was doubts about how I had handled things in my past. Now, the spirit works and feels very differently than that. So, for example, I recently had a strong impression that I needed to change something about my parenting to avoid future problems. But instead of wringing my hands and worrying about how I'd failed in the past, or fearing like consequences in the future because of my previous failures, I had an experience kind of similar to Joseph in Egypt, where the spirit helped me calmly focus on what I could and should do now. And I didn't spend any mental time in a catastrophic imaginary future or wishing away the past.
That's awesome.
So the spirit focuses on the present, while anxiety focuses on the past and the future. Okay, difference number 2. Anxiety feels quite general, while the spirit is usually quite specific. So my OCD gave me anxiety about literally everything. I was worried about doorknobs and blueberries and mail and hospitals and ovens and just about everything else. It was a state of worry about all of the things. But when the spirit speaks, it usually comes as a prompting to do something specific.
How specific?
About a single issue. So when Nephi went up to the mountain and he was praying, he received a commandment from God that said, "Thou shalt construct a ship after the manner which I shall show thee, that I may carry thy people across these waters." So he didn't receive a prompting to fret about how much time his family was wasting on the seashore. He wasn't told to pace back and forth in his tent wondering what to do next. No, he was given a specific direction to go down and build a ship. And then God would give him specific instructions for how to do it. And that's usually how the Spirit works too. So for example, I was recently teaching a lesson to some youth in my stake, and as I spoke, I felt a strong prompting to shift my lesson a little bit to cover a topic I hadn't even planned to address. And the prompting was very specific. Speak about this topic. It wasn't a feeling of dread about, oh, my lesson is failing.
This is an absolute disaster.
It was specific, while anxiety is general. Now, difference number 3. Anxiety feels terrible, while the Spirit usually feels peaceful. So when I think back to my worst OCD days, I can just feel a palpable sense of dread. Like I always felt fearful, anxious, depressed, like it did not feel good. But that's not how the Spirit speaks to us. The Spirit speaks to us with calm, with peace, with clarity. And my husband is going to hate that this is on the internet, but when we were dating, I had a strong prompting that we were supposed to break up. Like we were totally in love. He hadn't done anything wrong to make me want to break up with him, but I had the strongest absolute certainty that we needed to take a temporary and possibly permanent break.
Oh, so sad, so sad.
And so even though the feelings of breaking up with him were very unpleasant, it was so sad, like it really was so dramatic, the prompting to do it was not. Like it was a feeling of absolute calm and rightness. And I knew this was the right step to take, even though I didn't know where it would lead. And anxiety is not like that. Anxiety is a feeling of uncertainty, of fear, of panic and desperation, but that is not how the Spirit speaks. So there is a scripture that made all of the difference in helping me recognize when I was not feeling the Spirit. And it's found in 2 Timothy 1 verse 7. It says, God hath not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. So if a thought, feeling, or prompting has the motivation of fear behind it, it does not come from God. The Spirit speaks with clarity and peace, while anxiety speaks with fear. Now, if you want a more general overview of how to tell the difference between your own thoughts and the Spirit, make sure to check out this video.